this beautiful evening, after another session of his powerful Nama, before we submit our prayers at his lotus feet, let us share the beautiful dimension of Bhagwan as Sri Rama. Bhagwan, in many ways, the way he looked at people, the way he handled people, the way he walked and talked, he was every bit Lord Shiva. People who moved with him closely would know it. But he was chanting Rama mantra all the time. And by chanting and chanting and chanting, he became Rama also. It is the one divinity, the one universal being, the substance, the substratum of all existence. Once we merge with the substratum, with the one divinity, then it becomes every form. There is no confining it to any particular form, depending upon the situation, depending upon the devotee's depth of bhakti, depending upon the aspect they worship, the divine takes different forms suitably. Many times, Bhagwan would also be Rama. In the beginning, the pictures that you see, he used to carry a stick with a string, and it would be bent like Rama's bow. Now we shall see in the experiences of the devotees how this one divinity expressed itself as Sri Rama today, particularly. In the beginning, when the ashram land was bought, there were no houses at all in this part of Ramanagara. There was only one, what you call the grace, that small building. Otherwise, there was no building at all, there were only lands. Ashram had bought this land. And then a couple by name Vijaya and Ranganathan, they had bought a land very near the ashram. Of course, they did not know anything about the ashram coming up. They did not know that Yogi Ramsuratkumar of Tiruvannamalai had bought a land here. In fact, they were complaining to each other that they had bought a land where there was no other building. It was barren and very lonely. So they simply wondered how they could build a house here and live. It was so isolated, far from other buildings. When they had gone to a wedding or some function in some relative's place in Tiruchi, when they were complaining it to a friend who was a upasaka, a worshipper of God, who knew astrology also, but he was highly intuitive, he said, why do you complain? Why are you worried? Next to your land, there's a Rama's temple. I see a Rama's temple and I see Sri Rama walking about. They were surprised. They said, what? Rama's temple? It's unheard of. We don't see any Rama's temple there. It's a barren land, very isolated, lonely, deserted. And we are afraid even to build a house there and settle down. He said, no, there is a Rama's temple. In fact, I see, and then a little more, he turned inward, and then he said, yes, but Rama doesn't walk about with a bow and arrow. He seems to be an old man now with a beard. And I see him walking in the temple. They just gave it up, saying that probably this man did not know better. When they returned, they found out from friends in Ramanagara that Bhagavan Yogi Ramsuratkumar had bought the land here just 2 houses away. And then it's flashed that it is he who is Rama himself, and their friend was right. A Rama's temple was coming up, and Yogiji was moving about in the land here and there. So you see how, for a person who was highly intuitive, he understood that Bhagwan Yogi Ramsuratkumar was none other than Shri Rama. Once in the breakfast hut, we were all seated, the ladies on the one side and the men on the other side. The then trustee, Shri Mani, was complaining that the peacocks and the birds, parrots, all that were found in Shri Lakshmana Swami's compound, very near our ashram. They are often found in our ashram also. He said they had no control over them because they come from Shri Lakshmana Swami's compound. Immediately, Bhagwan smiled and said, all that comes to Shri Lakshmana Swami must come to Ramaswami also. And immediately we all knew. And he said it with such a bewitching smile, with a radiant face, we knew instantly what he meant. And then with great devotion and folded hands, we looked at him. He is Shri Ramaswami. It was the hint given by himself. Another time that day I was telling you people a story how an old lady, 86 years, steeped in traditional worship, who observed a lot of regimen, that so much so that her grandson was scared to take her to Yogi Ramsuratkumar of Tiruvannamalai, because Yogiji was often found in unwashed clothes. He had not taken bath for years, and what was more, added to all that, he was smoking, chain smoking. But when that old lady visited Yogi Ramsuratkumar, they seemed to know each other very well. That lady sat there with folded hands. And what was more, Swami, Bhagwan Yogi Ramsuratkumar asked this old lady, Mother, will you please serve this beggar the food? And then he even left something on the plate, on the leaf, after eating, and when he gave it to her as prasad, she took it with great devotion. Her grandson was surprised, and when they came out, when he began apologetically, that lady said in one sentence, what are you saying? What I saw was Sakshat Rama. Shri Rama himself was seated there. What are you saying? A man in dirty clothes and chain smoking. No, I saw only Shri Rama there. a revelation to her, a rare revelation. Another time, when Shri Shankarajalu, the professor, who was also the principal of the Government Arts College near the ashram, at one time stayed here for several years, and he used to go to Swami every day. One day, when he visited Bhagwan in Sannadhi Street house, Swami asked him, Shankarajalu, is there anything said by any of the Alvars, the Vaishnava devotees, the great, great devotees of Mahavishnu, anything about Shri Rama which is not mentioned in Valmiki RaMayana, any story referred to by the Alwar, the great Vaishnava devotees of the Lord? And Shri Shankarajalu narrated, yes, once on their way back to Ayodhya, Shri Rama, Sita, Lakshmana, and Hanumanji and other people, they came down, they were coming in the plain. It was called the Pushpaka plain. They were coming up in the air, and when Shri Rama spotted Shri Bharadvaja ashram, immediately he came down. They got down. And when the food was provided there for everybody, there was one leaf lacking. Shri Hanuman was serving everybody. And to his surprise, they found there was one leaf lacking. So Shri Hanumanji did not have any leaf. And immediately, Rama smiled and said, Hanuman, we will eat together from one leaf. Come. And they ate together from one leaf. This was mentioned by one of the Alvars, which is missing in Valmiki RaMayana. When Shri Shankarajalu narrated it, there was a knock at the door. Immediately, Swami asked him to go and open. Somebody had brought a carrier with food and one single leaf. And Swami said, okay, come inside. You can feed us. And they found out there was only one leaf, and there were two people, Shankarajalu and Swami, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, Bhagwan. Immediately Bhagwan said, okay, you put the leaf here. And then he looked at Shankarajalu with a meaningful smile and said, Shankarajalu, we will eat from one leaf. Come. Again, a specific revelation about the aspect of the divinity that is Shri Rama. Shri Shankarajalu instantly understood that he was referring to himself as Shri Rama. And Shankarajalu was like Hanuman to him. What a blessing! What a revelation! Another time when Shankarajalu had come with a bus full of boys, and they were all going to Satanur Dam. He was taking those boys for an excursion. And then Bhagwan came there to see them off, and suddenly Bhagwan boarded the bus where the boys were all seated, and Bhagwan also came with them, went with them to Satanur Dam. And there was a lot of water, and the boats were ready. And then Bhagwan asked Shankarajalu to get a boat ready. And soon the boatman was there, Shri Shankarajalu was there in the boat, and Bhagwan. As they were moving on the waters, Shri Yogi Ramsuratkumar Bhagwan asked Shankarajalu, do you remember any particular scene from Ramayana, Shankarajalu? And Shri Shankarajalu was also thinking at the time, the scene so much resembled another scene from Ramayana when Shri Rama was going in the boat over the waters of Ganga with the boatman Guha. And when he remembered and spoke about that, Bhagwan raised his hand and gave a huge blessing with a penetrating look. Again, a revelation to Shankarajalu that Bhagwan was none other than Shri Rama himself. There are ever so many, I can go on narrating how Bhagwan gave darshan as Rama to quite a few bhaktas in different circumstances. One evening will not be enough, and there is also the Tamil translation. And therefore, enough to say that Bhagwan Shri Rama himself is here right in front of us with his hand raised in the gesture of a blessing, a huge benediction. We shall offer our prayers to him. Bhagwan, beloved Rama, Hey Ram, we seek your immediate divine intervention